All right, so good evening, everyone. Just wanted to welcome everyone that's here for our open forum listening session. And this is actually our third open forum and listening session tonight. And we've covered a whole span of different departments in our first two sessions and have heard from residents and they've received their feedback on those topics. And that's one of the reasons, the main reason that we're here tonight is to hear from two of our two departments and our budget office in our town, and open the floor to our residents and anyone who may be listening in to this forum, and open the floor just for open conversation. We also have here three of our council members, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Marilyn Ruano.
Ray Garcia, Councilman.
Councilman Luis Collazo.
Thank you. So my name is Tony Lopez. I'm the Deputy Town Manager, and I have the privilege of inviting our esteemed colleagues and professionals here to introduce themselves and talk a little bit briefly about their departments. And we'll start with our police major.
Good evening, Javi Ruiz, your town commander. Obviously, we're nothing without finance, so I'm just going to pass it right now. As you're aware, obviously, well, I am a police major with the Miami-Dade Police Department. And for those that might be listening in and might be watching, just to give a brief overview of how the Miami-Dade Police Department works in conjunction with the town of Miami Lakes. The town of Miami Lakes contracts police services with the Miami-Dade Police Department. And the Miami-Dade Police Department has 3,000 sworn officers. Whenever anybody asks me how many officers how many members of the police department I always say I have 30,000 members of the police department, because everybody in this community I feel is a member of the police department. Now only 47 of them have arrest powers. So all the others, yeah, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Ruano, you can't arrest anybody just yet. But that being said, we provide police services and a myriad of police services. Obviously, we respond to calls for service. We assist fire, rescue, and medical calls. We respond to calls where crimes have occurred. Our officers conduct preliminary investigations. Our detectives conduct follow-up investigations. And as those investigations lead to arrests, those officers also work with the court system in order to prosecute offenders in the court system after those arrests have been made. Along with one mission objective, which is addressing crime, our second mission objective is addressing traffic flow. And we try and provide for the safe and expeditious flow of traffic throughout the town of Miami Lakes. And that's why you see our officers on the roadways many times, especially in the morning, attempting to assist and letting traffic flow as smoothly as possible. Having our officers out there also has a dual effect of high visibility, and that helps deter crime. Along with those mission objectives, there's a third objective that's not necessarily in our mission statement, but it's something that I feel is important, and the department as a whole feels is important. It's something that we're constantly promoting, which is community engagement. And like I said before, my police department just doesn't consist of 47 sworn officers. It consists of 30,000 members all working together, one big community. It's our police department cannot do it alone. And if it was just us out there and we didn't have any assistance or help from the community, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So along those lines, that's a brief overview. Along with the contracted services that we have, understand that there's also services that are hidden behind the scenes that are not necessarily in the town, but are part of that contract. So when we need aviation, we have our aviation from the county available. When we need canine, we have canine available. When we need specialized units that for example, Special Patrol Bureau or any of these other units that come up, investigative units such as Special Victims Bureau detectives, Economic Crimes Bureau detectives, narcotics detectives, those are all available to us. And that's why this relationship that we have between the town and the police department has been working so well, because we have those at our back assisting us in order to assist the community. So that's a brief overview of our police department and the things we do. And I'll stick around for any questions, comments afterwards. And if you want, Tony, I'll pass it on to.
And next we'll have Melissa Hernandez, our budget officer.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Hernandez. I'm a proud employee and resident of the town. My primary function is to work in conjunction with the finance department and making sure that our tax dollars are utilized in a proper manner and that we can move our town forward. I guess my main role is trying to keep all our department head and directors within their budget and keep them accountable to that budget. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty short and sweet as to what I do here. I'm also available for any questions that anybody may have. I will now pass it on to our lovely finance director, Ms. Kay Grant.
Good evening, everyone. I am Kay Grant, and I'm the finance director for the town. The finance department function is to report and record and report all the financial activities of the town in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The finance team includes our accounts payable specialist, Maria Nips, our accountant, Ala Abu Hussein, a controller, and myself, the finance director. Among ourselves, we prepare all financial reports to governmental entities and other entities. We also do cash management, accounts payables, receivables, I'm losing my thoughts. We do a myriad of things. Anything to do with finances, it has to flow through the finance department. In addition to that, we process biweekly payroll. We do risk management and any liability claims. We record that as well. And I'm missing a lot of things, but again, anything financial has to flow through the department. And we're very, very proud of our department and the team because, and that's evidenced by the GFOA excellence in reporting certificate that we received for 9 consecutive years. I always have to say that because we're very, very proud. Any questions that you may have, I'm here, I'm available. Thank you very much.
I also just wanted to highlight that we have our town clerk, Gina Inguanzo, and our deputy, Victoria Martinez, here as well. Another key function I just want to briefly touch on with these 2 departments to keep in mind is they also play a very vital role in emergency management, particularly in times of crisis. Obviously, our public safety component is a key part of that. And also on the back end, our finance and our budgeting team play a very big role in that process. So at this time, any of you may have any questions, this is your time. So.
Thank you very much. So I don't have any questions of my own, but I do have questions that residents frequently ask me. And I'll start with Kay. Residents frequently ask how they can access our online finance portal. I know that we have like information online that's available.
that our residents can have access to. So that's something that's frequently requested of me, how we can walk them through taking a look at. Thank you, Melissa.
I'll answer that. If you go onto our town website and you go under, I believe it's under the finance tab, but there is also a search bar. You can enter transparency or transparent Miami Lakes and Google that, and it will take you to our transparency module that it gives real-time information regarding anything that's financial for our town. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Melissa, very much, because the residents, we talk about it all the time, and I want them to be able to visit the site and see in real time that everything is out there to be seen. Fantastic, fantastic.
As Melissa says, all real-time information is there. I know in the past, at the end of every month, we would upload all checks that we issue, but now it's real time. You can see it every day. Well, actually, no, not every day is the checks, because we issue checks once a week. So you will see that there.
So what is the minute you write the checks, they're available to be seen on that portal. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions for the finance department?
Just that I want to thank you for doing this, this open forum. I love, it's a pleasure to be here. I don't have questions for finance. I actually have questions, if you don't mind, Major. Just wondering how the program is going, the pilot program to curtail the break-ins. Do you have any, is it too early to talk about that? Do you have any feedback on that? Sure.
No, we don't have them there. Because I have like two there for the swearing in. One, but that one right there was. The one in there works. For the podium, yeah, the podium works. Maybe somebody can.
If you like, Major, we can come back to that.
Yeah.
That kind of works there. And so the reason I'm just looking real briefly, it's going really well. I'd have to pull up the stats, and this is something I was also planning on sharing at the next council meeting to give an update on everything going on. So I don't have all those stats available. It's only been 2 months and we're still accumulating things.
Sure.
But we've worked several traffic details and hitting corridors such as 87th Avenue, 67th Avenue, Fairway Drive again, Fairway Drive multiple times, because we've gotten that complaint several times, as Councilwoman Ruano is very well aware. And I'll have better numbers for, how many citations we've written and verbal warnings issued and things of that nature, and how much time has been spent there. In terms of vehicle burglaries, for the month of October last year, we did 18, this year 13, so we saw a reduction there. For the month of November last year, we did 11, which was actually a good month. And this year, this month we did 8. So we've seen a reduction in both months that we've been, starting this program. Last year we did 14 in December. So hopefully, knock on wood, these efforts can continue and we can go under that as well again this month with our hopes. Our officers have gone out there and arrested a couple of people. During their vehicle burglary details, they identified a residential burglary subject that they were looking for in the past and took him into custody. They also, there was one vehicle that was identified on our LPR system that was a stolen vehicle, and they couldn't find it on one day, but during the vehicle burglary detail, they drove around Royal Oaks and found an exact location. I'll have some more information on that. And they were able to take the person into custody while he was occupying the vehicle.
Great news.
So it's going great. Our pilot programs are doing very well. And again, it's a combination of surveillance, utilizing our detectives in order to, just drive around, hit certain areas that are prone to vehicle burglaries, as well as high visibility and traffic violations or addressing traffic violations. So we're
Thank you,
doing great.
Major. Please thank your officers as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. And you know, I think you kind of took one of my questions out. That was exactly what I was going to ask about. It really, because you spearheaded that, you championed it. You know, I know there was a will to add more officers on the street because the perception was by adding more officers, but you really advocated, no, you know, I need to move this detail around, and seeing a 30% reduction, not just as a glitch, but actually month over month over month. Kudos to you and thank you so much. And we're as a council are grateful, and I just want to applaud that and thank you for being a champion of that. Again, you know, to one of the things that I've always endeared about Councilwoman Morano is really bringing that resident perspective forward. You know, and Ray, you're fresh off the campaign trail. You know, you've gotten a lot of feedback from residents, and this is the part that's a little disappointing, right? That you guys, your son doesn't have a mom at home now, right? You're taken away from your time. We did this so the residents can have this opportunity to engage with you guys. We have this opportunity each and every day, and we're the ones here, you know, kind of kicking the same tire around, so to speak. So I'm a little disappointed in that, but I'm glad that you're taking the opportunity to get that feedback. You know, if you have anything else that you heard on the campaign trail, but one of those things that we follow sometimes, which is quirky social media, right? Which is, we've also heard that that's kind of a silo. It's, you know, I don't know how accurate it is, but a lot of scuttlebutt on social media about this homelessness program, right? And do we really have a homelessness program? How much can you actively do without getting the town into a civil rights issue? You know, that's the fodder that I was going to bring forward today. And I thought that since we had such a homelessness program, maybe there would be more residents here kind of busting at the bit to talk about it, but I'll bring it forward because there is nobody here to bring it forward. I'm a social worker, you know, I believe in services, but I believe that there's also an enforcement part that you guys handle. If you can talk a little bit for those people that are tuning in, I think it would be good for the community.
Sure,
So thank you.
absolutely. And I appreciate that because it is it is an issue that we have to deal with, and but we obviously get phone calls, calls for service, and people advise, hey, I see a suspicious person in the area, and they're walking through the area and they're doing this. We received a call 2 nights ago that while here at the special call meeting, one of the residents brought up to our attention. He called earlier in that day with a suspicious person walking through the area of Royal Oaks. And when our officers encountered him, it was a homeless individual, and he was just lost and he didn't know how to get out of the area. But we were able to assist him and help him. Many times our hands are tied because we don't want to criminalize homelessness. It's not a crime. And what we want to do is try and assist these individuals as best as possible. And we try and talk to them and see if they're willing to go to a homeless shelter. And in effect, we will try and take them to a homeless shelter if we can. There's another program that the Miami-Dade Police Department encourages, which is sometimes we're able to transport them to a homeless shelter in lieu of arrest. So for example, if they go into a store and, you know, shoplift something because they're starving and they need to eat something, we will definitely document it and, provide that information to the store owner so that if they wish to follow up with the state attorney's office, they can. But at the same time, we have the discretion within our power to say, in lieu of arrest, we're going to take you to a homeless shelter. And that way we can get you some help. And that way you won't be stealing, and instead of throwing them into the system, that's just going to continuously throw them right back out and have them homeless again. So these are options that are available to us in terms of enforcement when we walk up or find them on the street. The biggest issue that we have is because they are transient in nature, we don't see the same person coming through. Because if there was the same person, we can, address the issue 4 or 5 times and go through. One of the crimes that we recently arrested one of them for was because he battered somebody here, but then he went into Opa-locka and battered somebody else. And then he went into Hialeah and then back to Opa-locka and then here. So he was transient, and he would just come in here, shortly and go there. It's excellent work on behalf of one of our detectives who made contact with other detectives, from other areas in order to identify this individual, tie the cases together and be able to say, hey, he not only did this one, he did this one. So if you see him, you know, or if we see him, we'll be able to both close out the cases and clear them. And because it's transient, you know, we'll get phone calls. Oh, there's somebody just came through, and you know, we'll address the issue, but then we don't see them again, but someone else comes in. A lot of it is perception as well. If you drive through certain areas of city of Miami, drive through other locations, you're going to see homeless there as well. I won't say where I live. I live close to Miami Lakes, and in the city I live in, there's also, you know, I've seen a couple of transient homeless people as well. It affects Doral, affects Hialeah, it affects Pembroke Pines, it affects every community. So.
I appreciate it. You know, I don't think it's a problem that's going to stop.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's something that we're seeing more and more of. I work in social services. I know that social services has an issue with making sure that homeless people want the services that they receive. Many times are homeless by choice. And but as policymakers, it falls back on us. Is this something that we need to maybe address it through policy, or is it something that you think you guys have, you know, you guys haven't handled? I don't see the problem going away. Certain cities are creating plans, homelessness plans, because I think you guys are put on a tightrope between civil rights and law enforcement, and you have to toe a line that's very gray sometimes, and you don't want to violate somebody's civil rights, but at the same time you want to respond to the residents saying, hey, I don't want this to become quote unquote a homeless hangout spot, right? Homeless haven or something.
So the good news regarding that is in terms of policy and developing policy for it, the town is actually ahead of the game, in my opinion, and I'll tell you why. Because your parks close down at a certain time period, and they still go to the park sometimes during the day and fall asleep, and you know, as they're walking through, but there are not really a lot of areas that are convenient for them. This is why they're so transient and walking through. For example, we had one at Miami Lakes Optimus Park a while back, and we addressed the issue by having our midnight crew conduct periodic checks of the park in order to identify the person and let them know, hey, listen, being in the park after certain hours is a violation of ordinance, and we can take you into custody. Please leave. And he's like, absolutely, I'll leave. And he moves on to somewhere else where he can be overnight. There are not a lot of areas that someone can actually camp out and be in Miami Lakes. A lot of the places are businesses, and they will call us up and say, can you please ask this gentleman to leave? And that's another, you know, that's another aspect of it, that we have a lot of both community involvement and involvement with the businesses, because they know that they can contact us and say, can you do me a favor and have this person leave, because we don't want them here. And 99% of the time they actually do leave and go. Lastly, as part of policy, we've, you know, our community service officers actually made contact with a couple of businesses just to identify we care signs or to identify areas where people can put we care signs. So to kind of explain the we care program, right now in this building, this is where I work, and this is kind of like my home, right? Same for all of you, since you all work here. If someone comes in here right now, you as a representative of the town of Miami Lakes can pretty much tell them, I can tell them, leave. You know, if you don't leave, then police can take action, and that's called trespass after warning, almost like your own house. Well, sometimes they walk into the businesses, and you know, the business owner needs to be there in order to be that face and say, I need you to leave. I'm directing you to leave. And if they don't leave, then they call us. And if they don't leave, then we arrest them for trespass after warning. We care signs actually give us kind of like authority, you know, the police officers to identify somebody and say, do you have business here? You don't? Okay, well, look, I'm going to ask you to leave. And if you don't leave, we can, that's going to be considered trespass after warning, because they're giving us authority in order to, pretty much, be like that homeowner or that representative of the business. So a lot of the businesses you'll see this sign that says "We Care" and says any Miami-Dade police officer is authorized to, under Florida state statute, something, to issue trespass warnings or something along those lines. I don't have the exact verbiage. Many businesses, when they find out about that, they go, absolutely. There are very few actually that don't have those "We Care" signs. And so when one of them recently, brought that to our attention, we told him, oh, well, look, you're one of the few because you just opened up. You should do a "We Care" sign. And they were like, absolutely. We provided that information. So if any businesses do contact you, and because I've always said council members are our eyes and ears. You're getting it from the citizens. Feel free to let us know. Hey, Major Ruiz, can you have the community service officer make contact with these people, obviously through the town manager, and we'll be happy to let have the community service officer go out there, and the community service officer also will talk to them about target hardening, right? Making themselves a harder target for crime. Maybe there's, some foliage that needs to be cut down. Maybe there's some issues, around the business, lighting and things of that nature that, would help deter crime. So, it'll be a twofold, they'll come out and they'll discuss those issues with them and, provide that information so that can help assist us.
Thank you, Major. Major, quick question. Does perception or reality, just the reality, how often monthly are your officers coming across a situation with a person who's homeless?
Yeah, we do get calls for panhandlers quite often, and I
Okay.
would say it could happen on a weekly basis. And most of the time, it's by the Palmetto Expressway where they're there. Many, quite a while back, I believe the Supreme Court ruled against making arrests for panhandling. Now, there is an ordinance called aggressive panhandling, and that requires them to, jump in front of a car and make it swerve out of the way, and or try and obtain donations through fear, intimidation, threats, and things of that nature. Obviously, they're not doing that. They're just simply holding up a sign. They sometimes walk into the street in order to get something, but then they walk right back, and the cars are usually stopped. So it's very hard. When our officers get those calls, they respond to the location. Many times they'll make contact with them just to see if they're okay. Sometimes they may say something that, gives us an avenue to, conduct a Baker Act if necessary. But they'll observe to see if they're conducting any violations of any laws. And if they're not, then, they'll check on their welfare and then, head off. So we do get those types of calls every now and then. We do get suspicious person calls. It's hard. It's definitely not on a daily basis. It might not be on a weekly basis, but we might get it, maybe a couple times a month. We'll get that type of call. But what we're not getting is this homeless person broke into, a store, smashed a window, beat somebody up. Like I mentioned before, we've only had, 2 batteries that occurred with a homeless person, or actually 3 in the past year. So it's not, and it's not like they're committing crimes. We're just getting calls that they're in the area and we'll go check on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Major. And to piggyback on Councilmember Collazo's comment regarding legislation or anything that we can do on our end, and I completely agree that being homeless is not a crime.
Right.
However, our residents do not want this community to become a homeless safe haven.
Right.
They are not comfortable. Many homeless individuals have mental health issues. Some of them do have to steal to eat or steal because they just don't have the means to live any other way. So it's not something that the community wants. So in other communities, what other methods do they have to curtail or to just become a community where these individuals just won't gravitate to because it becomes too difficult to even navigate or be transient in Miami Lakes?
Right. Well, because they're so transient, for example, if they were sleeping on bus benches, then I would approach the town staff and we would talk about putting bars in the middle of those benches in order to keep them from sleeping there, right? If they were, hanging out in the storefront, our officers would address the stores and say, do you want this individual here? And, we normally get calls. So because they're simply walking through, it's hard to develop something because they're not being stationary for an extended period of time. They might spend a day or two in one location, maybe at a park or something along those lines, but most of the time they continue walking through. So I can't, we'll keep our eyes open and ears open for some of the other things that other places may be doing. One of the other great things that the town has is the ordinance regarding sex offender and how many feet you can be from a park or a school. We don't have homeless encampments of sexual offenders because of that. That's in another location, because practically every residence in the town is within and actually the ordinance within the town is actually, I think, more extensive or just as extensive as the county one. I think it used to be 1,000 feet and the town one is 2,500 feet. So it gives us, that's already a tool that we have in play in case, and we've already utilized it a couple of times as well, when, registrants pop up and we conduct a follow-up of that in order to see, if the person is within the regulations or not. So with all these tools, we'll keep an eye out. Now, if we do notice some type of quality of life issues, such as the park benches or the bus benches where they're sleeping or something, we'll try and address those through town staff. And the great thing is, other county entities are a little jealous of my ability to work with town staff, because I simply, go upstairs and say, hey, can we do this? And they're like, yeah, what do you need? And they put a sign there, they put this there. So it's great.
Perfect. And that's exactly what we need, that we work together as a team
Yeah.
to curtail these things. And if right now the problem isn't in a place where we need to go any further, then that definitely works. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Anything else?
No, I appreciate you addressing the issue and like Marilyn, and I'm sure like Ray, we get the calls in a state of panic and crisis because we don't want it to become a problem. I mean, what I'm hearing from you is that you have the situation under control and there's really no need for us to act as policymakers. And I'm comfortable with that. But one thing that we can do is encourage our residents that, you're not there to criminalize homelessness. You're there to offer services first, right? So call it in, right? If they see something, call it in, engage the individual. If it's something that you guys can get them services for, because I know that's the model that you guys do, is you guys do outreach, offer services. And if it's something that requires police intervention, put the call in, right? And I think that's kind of the takeaway for me, at least tonight. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we close out, and for those that are watching, these forms are excellent and they were requested by the residents. However, I think that this is the third one, and turnout has been incredibly poor in each and every one. And so I truly appreciate staff being here, and I appreciate Tony being here as well, to put this together, to offer the information. However, at least for me, the appetite for these forms is done. Like I have no appetite for this anymore, because it's a lot of time and energy that you all put into this to prepare for these meetings. And the residents, they come and they tell us that on the podium during our council meetings, they don't have the opportunity to have a back and forth with us, right? They can't have a natural conversation with elected officials or with staff members. And here we are, and we're all here, and they are not. And so I'm very honest with my residents every time that something like this happens. You ask and we deliver, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So I don't know financially what the cost of these forums is, but I do know that time-wise and family commitments and whatnot, we do give up a lot to be here. So at least for me, in the coming year, I don't think that we should host these. any longer because I really truly don't see the value. I see the value that you're putting into it and the value that staff is putting into it, but the commitment for the residents is not here. So I appreciate them, but I don't think that we're going to be moving forward with these forms. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you again for taking the time and for doing this. And although no one showed up today, it is on record, and I know people do watch it. And I wish we had more people here, but I feel anytime we put ourselves out there, we're doing a service. So again, I wish there was more people here and we could market it. If we can do anything, if we can do maybe a postmortem on what we're doing, maybe there's an area and opportunity. If not, I just want to thank everybody for being here. Appreciate you.
I mean, I'll add one other perspective to that as well is, you know, we all make ourselves available to the public on a daily basis. So, you know, maybe one of the reasons we don't have a lot of people here is because they've already talked to us like 5 times this week, you know, but so that's a good thing. It's, you know, that's a positive way of looking at it overall.
You stole,
Just like staff has family, they you do as well, and you're here with people haven't seen them.
and Marie stole my closing remarks. I think part of the reason that the residents may not physically be here is because they have great representation in you guys, right? And we're probably some of the most accessible, right? And you just got fresh off the campaign trail, right? You've heard from thousands and thousands of residents. They showed you a vote of confidence. That's why you're here, right? I know Marilyn and myself are probably some of the most responsive, whether it be on social media or, you know, if somebody calls us or texts us or sends us a message, you're getting it like within minutes, right? So I think my thing is the staff's time. Really appreciate, you know, you guys are pulling time away from your family. This is after hours, you know, you all have families to be with, and we appreciate you guys, you know, for being here and taking that time. And I know it's part of the job. You guys signed up for it. So do we. Right. And I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the accessibility you guys have when we have concerns, right? Almost immediately. I don't think that there's, you know, seconds or minutes with a level of responsiveness from our town manager to Tony to, yeah. So I think going back to the opportunity part, I think it's just a sign of we're doing our job, not even a job well done. I think it's part of the expectation for us to be exceptional. And I think you guys are delivering on that. So thank you.
All right, well, thank you again for your time and feedback. And I'm really sure that on behalf of our staff, we really do appreciate all the feedback that you just shared with us. This is our third forum. We've covered pretty much all of our departments across. And at this time, that pretty much would be wrapping up the listening sessions. Correct. The first, we've taken it from department to department and done a full cycle of them. So we appreciate your feedback. I think it's important to hear that. And also want to thank our esteemed staff and professionals for being here as well. And everyone have a great night. Thank you.
Turn this on.